Welcome to Today with Dr. J, where I give you the guidance and tools to figure out what works for you in your recovery. My name is Dr. D. Jaffe, and I'm here to help you live happier, more purposefully, and without limits. I tend to ruffle some feathers for doing this, but I do away with the notion of once an addict, always an addict, because I believe that anyone can beat their addiction with the right mindset, tools, support, and education. Nothing can stand in your way to success. You don't have to commit to anything but action. You don't have to have anything but motivation. Whether you want to quit, drink less, or simply become more mindful around mental health and addiction, I'm here for you. Today, I wanted to talk about something that is actually incredibly central to the work that we do here, and that is the concept that your drinking problem or whatever you came to us to fix is not actually about the drinking. The idea is this, right? For the last century, the primary way of addressing alcohol issues, I'll just say to start, is an organization called Alcoholics Anonymous. In it, your goal is to identify as an alcoholic. As that started about a century ago, everybody just decided, okay, well, if you have an alcohol, and then later, by the way, a drug problem, you are an alcoholic. All alcoholics are the same. Your problem is this condition you have that is called alcoholism. Those two things developed completely separately, by the way, but they merged through Alcoholics Anonymous. You have a disease, doctors have been talking about it for a while, it must be true. And then there's a term came from the Prohibition movement called alcoholist, a person who drank during Prohibition. Remember, there was a time in this country, almost 20 years or so, where drinking was illegal, like cocaine and heroin, et cetera, are illegal. So during that time, the name that was given to people who drank was alcoholists first and then alcoholics. These things merged over time and eventually became that if you're an alcoholic and you drink problematically, you have this disease called alcoholism. It's gotten so twisted and so crazy at this point that anybody who struggles with alcohol just gets tossed into the alcoholic bin. You will never be normal again. You have this condition. You didn't know you had it at 12 and 9 and 3 years old and 16, but you've had it your whole life and now you just manifest. So welcome to the club. And then they tell you, well, you got to do what alcoholics have to do. And every time when you show up, you got to call yourself an alcoholic again, because that's the only way that you can remember exactly your roots. So that's the starting point. And that's not even my biggest problem that I have with it. The biggest problem I have is what I'm about to talk about, which is the entire focus is on alcohol. The name of the condition is the symptom. Alcoholic. That's not your problem. Alcohol is a solution. By the way, even in the book, it says that alcohol is your solution. So I don't know why you would call somebody an alcoholic if that is the medicine they got. We don't call a cancer patient even, chemotherapy. We don't call them that. Why? Because that's the medicine they get for their condition. But we've gotten to this place in I'll call it a business, but in the world of addiction, where people, one after the other, I have probably 15 of these calls a week with people who are interested in us, people in chats, people who I see privately. And they come to me and they say, oh, God, I drink too much. I've been drinking too much for this long. I use too much porn. I go, okay, tell me your story about the porn and the alcohol and the food. And then let's get away from the story that that's your actual problem. And let's get back to the origin, which is, what did alcohol do for you? What did porn do for you? What did donuts do for you? What did sugar do for you? What did fill in your blank do for you? Because if we can get back to that origin story, then now I know why alcohol was important. Because it solved a problem. If you knew anything about my story, if you know anything about my story, I've already told it many, many times. I don't need to tell it again, but that's what worked for me. Alcohol cured my social anxiety. When I drank, I had no social anxiety. I didn't even know to give it the name of social anxiety, but I had a lot of it. Since the age of 7 or 8, I felt awkward and weird around other people. When I drank, I just didn't. Why is that a problem? It's not. It's great. So I kept drinking. The only problem is, of course, it never fixed my social anxiety. That's a central concept of what we do here. You're not broken. You don't have a disease. Now, some people look like they have chronic diseases. I'm not going to lie, but those people probably have a big biological predisposition and some severe trauma and things of that nature. So that happens. It still doesn't mean you can't beat it, but sometimes it looks like a disease. But the goal is still, in the end, to understand what are the underlying elements that are driving, what are the factors that are driving the problem, so that you feel like you have to drink, right? The problem is not the drinking. The drinking is the solution you have found to the problem. So many people get this so mixed up that by the time they come to me, they don't remember this. They really feel like drinking is their problem. And I go, you used to not drink, right? And they go, yeah, I used to not drink. And at some point you found out that you really like drinking, right? Yes, at some point I was. And they remember normally the time. When did that happen? And when we dive into that, the understanding is so clear. And you see, not for everybody, but for many people, they go, oh shit, I started drinking because of a breakup, because my parents were fighting all the time, because my older brother was cooler than I am and I hung out with his friend. Like whatever the reason was, it did something for you. It played a role. So some of that we do in Shaping Now and some other exercises, but there's a thing we do at Ignited all the time. And I forget to talk about how important it is to actually help fix your issue in the moment. We can look back and understand where it started from, but in the moment. And that is the wheel of life. I opened up a treatment center about 8, 9 years ago now. And we needed some assessment. So I had a huge battery of assessments. We asked our people about 450 questions when they came into treatment with us. But what came out of it is this wheel of life. It was one of the surveys that I gave everybody when they started out. And two things came to light. First of all, almost everybody had a substantial number of factors out of the 8 factors in the original wheel of life that suffered greatly. Family, relationships, career, money, personal growth, fun and recreation, romance, business. Like everybody had at least a couple of areas that were near 0 out of 10. They were coming for alcohol. But once you started asking them different questions, it was clear that there are some serious problems that they're experiencing in everyday life. And they know it, they recognize it, they just don't see it as the primary problem. So that's number one. I started asking everybody to fill out this thing, hundreds and hundreds of people. I was like, before we go any further, I need to understand where you are on these factors. Well, we were open for about 5 years. And so I got to see people progress through the wheel of life. And then what I realized is through treatment, sometimes a month, sometimes 3 months, sometimes 6 months or a year, many of the areas of the wheel of life that had originally really suffered, like 0s, 1s, and 2s, got better. What does better look like? It could be a 4 when it was a 0. It could be a 5 or 6. 5 and 6 when you start at a 1 or 2 is still pretty amazing and it feels really, really good. So the people would be very happy with the progress in those areas, but they were still struggling. And I sat down and I was trying to think, why is that? Right? Why is that somebody can come to me recognizing or not recognizing areas in their life that they're having real struggles around? They see it, they understand it, they buy in fully, and we then help repair those areas. And they don't meet the target. They don't get their drinking level where they wanted to, or they don't feel good about their life. So if I could get somebody to improve the other areas just enough so that they weren't suffering on a great level across any of the other 8 factors, and then I could get them to move up in any way on purpose or contributions, because most people that come to me, either purpose or contribution is pretty close to 0, at least one, if not both. The way it manifests, the way you feel it is you just don't know why anything matters. What does it matter? Who cares if I beat this? Who cares if I drink less? I've already screwed up so much, or I'm never going to make anything of myself. Nothing I'm going to do matters. Like that sort of internal dialogue tells me that purpose and contribution are misaligned for you somehow. If you find a way to consecutively, month after month, week after week, quarter after quarter, year after year, pay attention to and target improvements on your wheel of life, there will be a point where you look back, even if you don't look at your drinking at all, you just look at that wheel of life. There will be a point where you will look back and go, holy shit, what happened to my drinking? What happened to it? I used to black out 3 times a week. I haven't blacked out in a month, 6 months, a year. How did that happen? And the reason is simple. You came for a problem, but if you focus on the wrong problem, you fix it using the wrong solutions. It's that once you quit, you've essentially stopped taking the medicine that has made life tolerable until that moment. So you stop drinking, and now your real condition comes full bore, and it just goes, oh, I'm still here. I've just been hanging out in the corner while you thought everything was fine. And the examples to this are endless. Somebody asked this in a talk that I was doing last night. Relationships are a real central issue that I see oftentimes. People are in relationships that are not making them happy. And I'm talking about romantic relationships right now. Let's just stick with that. They're unhappy. They're dissatisfied. Their needs aren't being met. They're fighting all the time. The distance is massive. The chasm between the 2 partners is huge. But if I can come home and have 3 or 4 or 5 drinks, I just don't care about it enough, and I can make it to tomorrow. Some of us has jobs we fucking hate. Every morning when we wake up, we go, why do I have to do this one more day? This is terrifying and terrible. I don't want this anymore. But they don't see another option. So all day, if they don't have to drink during the day, all day they go, you can make it, it's fine. And then at 4 o'clock or 4:30 or 5 or 5:30 or 6, whenever they can, they have a couple of drinks and everything is okay. Some people have really disturbed family systems. It's just a nightmare. Every time you talk to a family member, it's a fight. Every time you remember past events, past vacations, past conversations you had with your mom or with your brother or with your sister or with your dad, it just brings on feelings of shame and embarrassment and worthlessness. And you go, what is wrong with me? I get flooded with these feelings. I don't know what to do about it. And then you drink and it's better. Those are just a few examples, but hopefully it makes it clear your problem is not the freaking alcohol. To me, abstinence is incredibly powerful for one thing. Stay sober long enough and you will know exactly why you drank. So you can wait until that, or you can wait until shit falls apart, or you can be active and proactive in this. And what I mean by that, and I do it, I'll be perfectly honest, I don't remember to do it every single month nowadays, but at least every other month, I fill out the wheel of life myself. And the reason is simple. You can't keep your eye on all the balls. You just can't do it. There's too much stuff happening, especially if, I'm 45 years old now, especially if you're older or have kids or have families and there's just stuff happening for you. It's hard to pay attention to everything all the time. And that's okay. None of us are perfect. You can't pay attention to everything perfectly, but you better not take your eye off the most important balls. Because if you've got 15 plates spinning, I know I'm mixing metaphors. If you got 15 plates spinning, you can let them slow down a little bit, but if they slow down too much, they crash. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found the lessons helpful in your recovery. Click below to like, comment, and subscribe. Plus, if you want to find out more about the work that we do at Ignited, visit IGNTD.com for more.